Super nice to make your acquaintance.
Yes, likewise.
Yeah, fantastic. So, what kind of problems are you experiencing?
Well, I pretty much covered it in my email. I'm just spending an inordinate amount of time fooling around with the Google Slides and then the Google Earth. And so when I watch the tutorials that are with each new assignment, I often can't follow the cursor very well because I can't see it.
Okay.
And you move through it really rapidly for maybe the accelerated learner. And I'm not in that group right now.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Well, let's
So
let's go over anything you need, and also recognize that on YouTube you could actually slow down the video. I don't know if you know that in terms of the speed control.
no, I've just been hitting stop and
Okay.
replaying it. Very
I'll
time
just,
consuming.
I'll pull up one of the videos just to show you where that is,
Okay.
and maybe that could be helpful. I actually just did a tutorial um, with another student, so I'll just pull that up here and then share. Can you see the screen?
Yep.
Cool. So if you ever want to do this, it's in the little, I'm gonna just turn on my spotlight so it's a little bit easier to see. Is that easier to see with that red dot?
A little bit is still pretty tiny.
Yeah, let's see if I can.
I
Can
have
you,
glaucoma, and so in my right eye, it's pretty much all shadowy and stuff. So
gotcha. Gotcha. So right here on the bottom right-hand side, we've got our settings, and
yeah.
then we've got playback speed. And so you can go 2 times as fast, or you can go 0.25, 0.5, and 0.75 in terms of lowering the playback speed.
Okay.
And if for whatever reason those don't work as well, there's a new function that's just a custom, so you can get right down to a 0.05 iteration of that. So
Okay.
that might be helpful. And then in terms of your assignment, what can we clear up today?
Well, I don't know if you had a chance to look at my link,
Mhm.
and I pretty much gave up on the Google Earth Pro, although I really, really wanted to do it
Okay.
and use that because everyone else's and pardon me, the practice homework all looks so great, and I wanted to be able to do that, but I wasn't. I have to grab a glass of water. Wasn't able to manipulate all the tools and stuff. So I ended up doing a hand drawing. And although Jayati was very kind, it's like, no, it's ugly.
Yeah, Jyoti's got an incredible eye for this stuff. So yeah, let's kind of grab a couple things that I'm seeing right now. So one is the background information for your assignment there.
Uh-huh.
So we go to slide, we go to edit theme, and then we have access. If we click on the top slide there, we have access to all of that information. So we can put in the information, the slide information, all of that can go right in there. So I think
Okay,
what I'll
so what
do
I'm
is,
gonna do is jot down the chain of stuff. So you go to
sure.
slide,
And
go
I'm recording
edit
this as
theme.
well, so you can have
Okay,
this afterwards. So
okay.
yeah, I'll just go back there. We got a lot of little things up here. So yeah, so if we get out of this by pressing this X in the top right hand corner,
Mm-hmm.
and if we do it again, basically what we're doing is we're going to slide and then edit theme. And the way this works is it's kind of a hierarchy. So if you change something in one of these hierarchy slides that's below the theme, it'll only change that slide that you use. So you have to click on the theme slide at the top and then insert your name up there. So I'm just gonna pull up your assignment again. Oh, maybe we'll try that one more time. There we go. And maybe what we'll do is we'll just put it right in. So there's you. Just going to scrub that of any formatting. Then we'll go slide, edit theme. Go up to the top again, theme, and then put in your name. And then I'm going to grab the project name, Banner Park. Is that the name of the project?
Yes, yes.
Awesome. And then Banner Park. And then city, that's an extra space there. And city, Oak Ridge, Oregon, OSU. And what I'm doing, if you see me putting up a new slide, it's a little trick I picked up years ago, is if I want to just grab a piece of text and I don't want to bring any of the formatting with it, what I'll do is I'll highlight it as I have here, Command C or right click copy. And then I'll open up a new tab in the browser I'm using, which is Safari. It's just Command T. And then it automatically puts me up into the URL, and then I'll Command V. And when it comes up here, it'll strip it of all of its formatting. So I can just copy that again and then bring it back in. It's just a little thing I picked up years ago. Pro, and we are fall 2021. And then the last thing to do is highlight all of this, hit the highlight button, and just go no highlight. Then we've got a little spacing issue there. And then that looks like it might be 2 spaces. Yep. And then the end of your name looks like there might be a space. Okay, that looks good. There we go. Nice.
So that will transfer to all the slides that had that same heading.
That's right. So any of the master slides will be there now.
I could not figure out how to get rid of that. I just said, phooey.
Yeah, fair enough.
Whatever.
Fair enough. I totally
the
get
main point here?
Yeah, if those things come up, you just let them go. You figure it out later. Totally. Okay, great. And then in terms of Google Earth Pro, do you want to go through any of that right now, or?
Well, let's see. I think, I headed into this appointment thinking, we can solve the Google Earth Pro thing and get a really nice slide. And so I think we either do that or I go to my hand-drawn stuff and enter that. I don't know which direction to go, if I'm going to be able to grab onto the Google Earth Pro technique or not.
Yeah, I would say, and this was true when I started as well, I had access to Google SketchUp and Google Earth Pro, and I actually had access to Adobe because I was out of school, and so I had some access to it. But really, the big thing we want you to do in this course, first and foremost, is get the concept and the process of doing this work. So paper and pencil, like I said in those tutorials, I'm all for first. Like, it's just so much easier. And so if you want to take images from Google Earth Pro and then print them and then trace them onto a piece of transparency and then take a photo of that over top of your legend, that's how I worked for years. I worked with pen. I still have all of my rolls of paper. I always think, I'm going to pull them out and look at them. Never do. They're always still there. And I don't think I'll ever buy a big flatbed scanner or get one or bring them to somebody. It's just they're there and that's fine. But no, I say paper and pencil all the time. And usually what I'll do is I'll do it on a gridded piece of paper. So that way, at least I've got a grid or an established ruler to work with. Mm-hmm. And then I'll size it in such a way so that way I'm working with a standard scale. But the scale bar you have here, this looks to be in feet. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this looks great. And I know that it doesn't look like a graphic render, but it doesn't need to. Like, you could go through this entire course, do this completely, and then one of two things: spend a bunch of time to learn how to graphically render. And I'll tell you, no, I still don't. I don't know how to accurately use Adobe or Inkscape or any of these programs Normally I hire a renderer if it's for a professional designer, or I hire an AutoCAD technician and they render everything in. So really the main thing we want to learn about here is the process of conversation. And so this type of hand drawing, truthfully, is great. It's simple, it's clear. I totally get everything that's here. Like I'm looking at this going, there's nothing I'm missing here. There's nothing here that I would say is missing. Like I got to decide of what the curbing is, the wood chips. You've done some nice area imagery. So asphalt, concrete, we know all of this. We've got a certain section at the top, which is grass. We have the shrub that's here, the deciduous tree, planter, hose bib, little, like everything here correlates correctly with everything here. So I can see exactly what's going on. Disputed property boundary, as there always are. You've put in, and let me say this, like you've put in a lot of great detail into a very simple map. And so I am a big fan of just using drawn maps. And then you can either get into transparency paper, which is cheaper, or vellum, which is a bit more heavy duty. Transparency paper you should be able to pick up for 20 or 15 bucks a roll. That'll last you for this project and probably 10 others. Without being crass, it's called bumwad in the industry because you're supposed to use a lot of it and like make lots of iterations and then do another one and rip it up and throw it away. And when you do that, when you get a lot of mileage with paper and pencil, you get a sense of the site in a way that you don't digitally. And this is one of the reasons why, for me, I still do hand drawn, but I do it hand drawn digitally on an iPad, and why I invested in that. But until you're ready for that level of investment, this is fine.
Okay. Well, that's pretty convincing, and I feel myself, being relieved because, yeah, it's making me too tense, and I'm not getting as much fun out of it, as I'd like to. So, yeah, I think that answer is simple.
Yeah.
Jyoti, her feedback was, I didn't have the scale, and I just put that in today.
Yep.
So that is something that I didn't understand completely. I thought I read that these scales don't transfer, and they're not, accurate or something. So is that one correct?
I don't know because I haven't gone through the process yet, but the tutorial that I put together runs through it. And then Neil has a process as well. But basically what we're doing is we're taking a scaled ruler off of the real measurements when you print this document, which is at 11 by 17. So it's meant to be printed if you wanted. And then we're taking that scale ruler and we're putting it directly onto this to get a sense of what is the difference between the two. And so there is in the master, there we go. There's a scale calculator to scale if 1 inch on this property is 25 feet, then what's the scale? So if you click on this, because that may or may not be what we get here. So basically what we do is we just bring in a ruler here and then just measure this to get a sense of what that scale is.
And then it's expressed as a ratio, you mean? Or
it is. So basically when you understand that, let's say 25 feet is 1 inch is 25 feet, then all of a sudden it'll become a ratio of, if we took those 25 feet and this 1 inch, how many times does this 1 inch go into 25 feet in the real world? And so you get a scale, a unit of scale there. Yeah. So if 1 inch is 25 feet, and we can do this together, we'll pull this up.
Oh, that little calculator thing.
Yeah. So the scale, so distance on map, 1 inch. I kept on saying centimeter. I'm so metric. Didn't even notice it.
You can go to a lot more countries and be okay than I can.
Exactly. You got it perfect. 1 to 300. You got the scale perfect.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. Well, thank you for all those tools. I don't know what I'd do if I had to do the math by hand.
No, I used to. It's so funny. I used to do everything by hand. I was one of those stubborn people where I was like, I'll do the math. And when I was challenged to make this for everybody, I was like, people don't need to do the math on this. That's okay. That's okay. There's a couple things I would change a little bit about this. So I would remove that box I just removed. So you had a box there for some reason, and it's not really doing much for you. So I just removed that. And you've got your title bar here, and that may be something you want to do is put in a horizontal title bar like you have here, but put it in and sort of have a blended map. The only reason for that is if you do that horizontal title bar, and I'll show you, I'll just show you what I mean. So if we grab this, copy this, bring this in. If you ever want to crop a photo, you double click on it and you get these little black bars, and these are crop bars. So basically you can pull up the crop and all of a sudden that piece is still there. It hasn't been deleted. If we double click on it, you can also see it down there. It's just kind of like making a window on what we're seeing. And I'm just going to go back and grab all of the information because I didn't grab your scale there. There we go.
Well, yeah, I didn't do anything with that other scale, this pre-made one. I don't know what.
Yeah, and I could show you how to size that if you want to keep this as well and just, again, reclaim a bit of space. The only reason I do this for folks, or I recommend this, is that when you get to the rest of the assignments, you're going to find that you're really cramped for space. And so something like this horizontal title bar will actually give you more space generally on the whole assignment. So I'm just going to take a moment here, and we're basically going to scale this to your map. So what I do is I bring this whole, I'm bringing this, let's bring this instead. So I basically bring this over to the scale bar, over to your scale bar, which you've already measured. And we can do one of two things. We can either size this for 10 feet, or pardon me, 50 feet, which I think actually what I'm more interested in. I'll just move this a little bit off so you can see what I'm doing. So it's just a little bit off of 50 feet. That's pretty close.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. So now this is scaled that each one of these bars is 10 feet. So now I'm going to bring that back and put that a little bit high in the bar. So that way, when I bring back the text bar, we'll have room. There we go. Got somebody who wants so much love today, don't you? Easy girl. She's a Turkish guard bear dog. So she guards against bears in Turkey. And woe be it to whoever comes to the door.
Don't look like a bear.
I don't look like a bear. Yeah, exactly.
No Halloween bears.
Yeah, we're in the middle of nowhere. We don't get a whole lot of people who come to the door. That would be fun, actually. There we go. And that's 100 feet. And then our scale, as we've already put, is 1 to 300. And so now we actually have a full scale bar. And I'm just going to check to see the compass rose needs to be moved up a bit. And then maybe just decreased in size just a moment, just so it fits a little bit better in that square. Oh, that's nice. And then we'll go back to zoom to fit. Yeah. And what I might actually do as well, and I don't know if Jody said this, but I definitely remark on this all the time, is that everything we're doing in this work is to be as legible as possible. And so I'm not a big fan, especially on base maps, to have any coloration as a background. Basically, whatever takes away from what we're trying to communicate is another thing for a client or somebody who's evaluating our designs, if they're going to be going in, is one more thing to worry about. So I would just go with a white background, but I leave it to you to sort that out.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's fine. I can do that.
And the last thing I'm going to do here, only because I am persnickety, it's the German in me, is I'm just going to remove the rest of this, going to turn this into something else and put the scale just above here, just because it's the one thing that's kind of holding this up from being a little bit tighter. Then I'm going to take this and this. I'm just going to move them down one. Yeah, that's nice. Might even move them over. No, keep it center. And then I'll put this scale over here.
I haven't used a mouse for years. It takes a little practice to get back with
yeah,
the brain
totally.
connection.
Totally. Yeah, most definitely does. There we go. Okay. And then you could do one of two things. You could either go with a total background that's white, or what I would do is I would just make sure, so I'm clicking on the table here, I'm going to my background color, making sure it's white, just so that way it pops out. But that looks great. Like, I think you've done a great base map. No being kind. That's all truthful.
Oh, okay. So one question I had is the reason I have it tilted like that is on Google Earth, it was tilted like that.
Yep.
And so true north is straight up and down, and this map is a little, or I mean, the lot is not true north. Is that what I'm looking at?
Yeah, exactly. So when we bring in our designs into any sort of programming convention, working with any other profession in North is going to be up. So keeping it like this, I think, is perfect. It's exactly what we need. I wouldn't worry about it too much. It's a little off, but the main literacy that we're trying to build in people, especially in this course, is that there's this incredible nuclear fusion device out in space that's providing all of the energy for our planet. And so we really want to get a sense of North is up, then we have a sense of what our solar real estate and access is. So when we start to move things around, we're now complicating two things. One, a literacy of the fact that we need to be conscientious of where the sun is on our site. And two, now we're trying to reorient on the site. So you've done it brilliantly and perfectly to my eye.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it just looks like a lot because everything else is so square in Google Slides, and that's tilted. It's like,
Yep. That symmetry brain starts to go a little squirrely.
Yeah.
I hear you.
I'm the matchy one.
Yep. I'm the same. I totally get you. I totally get you.
Okay. Well, that's a relief. We're making a lot of progress. And so now let's see about last week's assignment with the zones, was it?
Okay. Yep.
And my spaghetti pile there.
I like it. I like your spaghetti pile.
Yeah, and then the meatball in the center.
I love it.
I couldn't figure out how to make a background, so I just said, I'll do it my own way. And
I love it.
Flip it in there, and Jyoti noticed.
I love it. Okay, what I might do, and this is no commentary on you, is I might go and pull up the master, only because it might be easier for me to quickly change some colors than it is to sort out the spaghetti and meatballs. So just give me 2 secs and I'll pull up the templates so I can draw from them. Nice, there we go. Nice. And then I'm going to pull up the template for the sector map. Did the concept of sectors make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay, great. I remember pitching a job once to in situ aging care home. So one wing was independent, one wing was assisted, and then they had facilities and gathering places in the middle. And I just said, do you know, because I was pitching to corporate for an edible landscape. I said, do you know what's around your site? They said, no. I said, do you know how close your the students in the school, or did you know that there was a school beside you? No. Do you know how close they got? No. It's just, it was so funny. You know, they just, the way that this is, nobody is to actually look at anything that's coming. So very, very fun. Okay. So we've got this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take your image here, and what I'm going to do is just replace this here. Place image. Oh, I've got to upload it. All right, then I'll just paste it instead. Oh, I got the, yeah, this is the thing about this particular program, I think, that makes certain people, myself included, want to get super frustrated. You know what I'll do instead? We just did this base map. I think what I'll do is I'll just take a screen capture of your base map, and then that'll go to my hard drive. And instead of mucking about, I'm going to go here, replace image, upload from computer. And then we're going to go to desktop. and screen capture. There we go. Now we have exactly your site in the center.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Well, that's the other thing that kind of baffled me is it's a long, skinny piece, and how do I make it look nice and in proportion? It
I
doesn't
think
fit.
you did a great job. I think it looks really good. I think that looks really good. So we've got, what are some of them here? We've got a prevailing wind, which is our hard purple. Okay. So where's our prevailing wind? So there's our prevailing wind. So what I might do is I may just take in your materials here, copy those. Which one's close to that? I think our light blue is pretty good. And just going to bring in our prevailing wind. Okay, so a little. And does that idea of bolded highlighting make sense to you at all?
You mean in terms of the layout and the look of the slide? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, just, bolding a couple of elements within the text, just to make sure that when somebody's reading it, they go, oh, okay, I get what this is. I'm looking at this and I don't have to work as hard. It's a more simplistic way just to call attention to things.
Mm-hmm.
Prevailing wind, and then cooling downstream, entering breeze. Okay, cool. Sheltered by the built environment. Awesome, great. So I might make this square just a little bigger. Nice. And then what was the other piece there? Accept. So again, what you'll notice is that as I'm putting yours in, I'm going back and I'm taking the formatting tool, and I'm just, so you're going to accept that energy. Winds are not an issue on this site. Great. So this just keeps it a little bit bigger. There we go. Nice. That looks good. And then we're going to move our little element here. So our prevailing winds are basically on a westerly there. So grab this one, and then going to move it to our westerly there. Great. All right. And our next one, water flow. And water flow is kind of northwesterly and then the arrow. Great. So put this on here. And then water drains north to south. Risk of flooding is minor. There's a lot of relatively flat. The lot is relatively flat with a storm drain for the hard surface and grass on one aspect. Do you have the storm drain in the base map?
Yes.
Just going to go back and check.
It's right by that curving. Yeah, right over.
Storm drain. Perfect. Yep. Great. So I'm going to make sure that's a good detail, especially for GOT. Because as she's looking through this, she'll want to get a sense of it. Neighbors. So already we know this box has to be a lot bigger. So water drains north to south. That's a good bold. Risk of flooding is minor. Good bold. The neighbor to the east has a downspout not being captured, but could be used for irrigation. Right. So just gonna tighten up these words. East neighbor, gonna resist my Canadian spelling. And we want to accept. Great. So just gonna do a little bit of formatting here so it's pretty clear. Accept possible fountain or demonstration. Great. And then I'm just going to move this guy over. So we've got some space here, and then remove the rest of that in there. And then my dog has just been left inside. So if you're hearing howling, is unhappy she doesn't get to go play and roll around in horse poo, which,
Uh-oh.
like, you could understand. That's an important
Yeah.
thing to do.
Yeah.
So I might just turn this around and kind of fit it in the space a little. There she goes. Cool. And then this, we want, you had it kind of coming north to south. Is that right?
Which one?
The water arrow, I think. Yeah, kind of there.
Yeah, it probably couldn't get it twisted just like I wanted. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we can do a little bit here. So I don't know if you want. it
Oh
more
yeah, that's better.
vertical,
Thank you.
something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. Cool. Do animals cross this at all, or is there a pathway that you normally see?
You know, in terms of four-legged animals, there might be a stray cat. There may be deer, but I don't know why they'd want to go to the post office across the street.
Good point. Great. So we'll pick up wildlife, and we don't have an arrow, so we'll remove that because we don't need it. And then I'm going to pop in yours. And again, we're just going to reformat, make it a little bit bigger. And minimal habitat exists for any wildlife. And so we're going to amplify. I'm just going to copy these things here. Deflect, deflect. And then we're going to remove the rest of that. There we go. And that's our wildlife box. And views. Oh, lots of good views. And so views are basically the whole thing, eh?
Well, yeah, maybe I got a little overzealous with that one. There is the east wall of the neighbor there. It's just a blank wall, and it could be a mural or something like that if we can figure out the dispute who owns that wall.
Yeah.
So maybe it needs to be erased on the east side.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. So when something like this happens, and now I'm, even for me, who's used this program a bit, it's starting to get a little even crowded for me. I usually will grab a box and then move it off, and then just work with what I've got here, just so I can still see what's going on and worry about putting it together later.
Yeah.
So maybe even a bit more. There we go. Just view of fills through small tree opening. What does that mean?
That's a typo.
Okay.
View of, oh, that's the future though, right? Is that, I'm trying to read it.
I can also punch in here. That's helpful.
Let's see.
There we go.
Just a view through small tree opening. I don't know why I put that in. Perhaps I didn't.
Maybe remove that?
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent views to the south of Larson Ridge. Other views are of city life and passerby and passerbys. For the social aspect of life, there's potential for an interesting green wall. Right? So that's a new one. There is potential green wall. Okay, great. And then we're back to amplify. Great. So excellent views. So excellent views to the south. Views of city life, social aspect of park, potential for interesting green wall. I'm going to remove the comma, east side of site. So I got into this bolded highlighting years ago when I was working with an architect, and it changed the entire way I was looking at this work, because all of a sudden it's like, oh, I actually see it better myself. So it's one of the reasons why I got into it. And then just going to bring this up a bit. Nice. Okay. Go back to fit so I can see everything. So what do we got left? Oh, wait a second. I don't think I changed the color. Views. So I'm actually going to change. There we go. I got the right one. So I'm going to click on this, copy the formatting, and then paste the formatting. So that means that this guy is going to be problematic. So I'm just going to change him to something random right now, so I know he's still there. We've got the view. I don't think you have much of a fire corridor, do you? No, fire's not here. Oh, it is.
There's all that cement, so there's some buffer. It could come roaring down from the north because that whole back slope is wooded.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to turn this green one, because it's kind of generally the same size as, I'm going to move it this way, and then I'm going to change the ends of it. Change it over here. These are the little yellow tabs. When you grab them, they move things around. And so I'm going to steal your fire material. Copy and paste. And then move this. Plus winds from west during dry summer. And then ignition source. Is nearby fuel source. And is the nearby fuel source a new point? Yeah, it kind of seems it, eh? Yeah. And then,
Yeah, it would just be houses, and whatever
Mm.
they have stacked around, wood fences, that kind of stuff.
gotcha. Cool. So I might make a bit more space here for us. Winds from west during dry summer. Winds from west, dry summer. Bold. Ignition sources. Bold. Fuel source. Bold. And then do a little capitalization. Deflects wildfires. Increase moisture retention. Fire breaks include, yep, awesome. That's great. So our fire sector on this one is that one. And so we'll just turn this into this by, again, clicking on that, getting our, there we go. And now we've got this rounded one, which again, I'm going to change to a different color so I can just recognize it's there and maybe delete it if we need to, maybe a different color. There we go. Oh, clicked on the wrong one. Does happen. Great. No, I don't think I got it. Let's try again. Not that one. But this one. Nope. This one. Yes.
It is.
It's just part of it. It's always going to be the case working with these types of programs. And then we're just going to use our arrows because it's a little easier. Cool. Put you off to the side, probably delete you later. And rain barrel. I just noticed that was wrong. Give some space, water flow. Cool. So yeah, that's basically all I'm doing is just going through and then just copy and pasting. What I would probably do for you is if you wanted to keep with this title block, you could, or I would, if this were me, I would just go in and grab my entire title bar and come in here. And then I would delete this. I would delete this. Delete that. Make you a little bit more like this. Move you up a bit. We'll move all of this up too. And then I'll probably have to move the wildlife a bit more. That's okay. Get that out of the way for now. And then bring in that title bar, because that then gives you the title bar that you need on every single assignment.
Right.
And again, if you don't want to do the solar angles, that's totally fine. You don't have to. It's just another element. And especially if you're ever going to do any cross sections showing the angles from a north-south cross section, it's great to show the shadowing that's going to happen with your planting.
Yeah, I really liked that. I kind of whizzed past it. I remember it was shown, was it in Google Earth where you can do that?
Mm-hmm.
And I liked that cross-section thing. And this was becoming rather technical, the physics of it and just reading those tables that you get on the solar sites was a bit much, but
yeah, do you want me to go through that as well with you?
well, I would like to know the shadows at different times of year because I have that east wall.
Yeah.
And so it's cold in the morning and hot in the afternoon.
Yeah, totally. Cool. Well, yeah, I'm happy to take a little bit of time. I have a little bit more time here. So basically, if we're using Sun Earth tools, and there's lots of these websites. This is not the only one. But if we're using Sun Earth tools, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to either your coordinates or your address. So I'm just copying your address, going to Sun Earth tools, going to sun position, later, whatever the ad is, later. I clicked on the ad. Never click on the ad.
Yeah.
It happens. And then search, and we'll search here. And so we're just typing it in and hitting enter. And is that correct in terms of its spacing? Does that look correct?
It looks a little flattened.
Right. But is that generally the location of where, like, do you recognize this
Yeah.
form? Okay, great.
Yeah.
So basically, once we have that, this is how to, this chart comes in two different ways. It comes in this 360-degree view, and then it has this unwrapped view. And so what this is showing us is that in the summer solstice, the sun rises at about 58 degrees. So we've got 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. So if you were standing here in the center, I'm just going to draw you here. Don't take it personally. These drawings are terrible for everybody. So if this is you, and here's your nose, and here's your hands, and you are facing due south. So you're on site and you're looking this way. If you looked over your left shoulder, the sun on solstice would basically rise at 58 degrees. So if I'm standing center like this and I'm looking south, it would be 58 degrees east by northeast. So over there. And then it would set all the way over my right shoulder at about 305 degrees. And so this is where we end up getting this this solar arc for the summer sun. Oh,
right.
That was a poor mouse draw. So that's the summer sun. And then I'm just going to remove that last drawing so we can do the winter sun. And then in the winter, you'll see down here, we have December solstice, and yours is actually quite low on the planet, so to speak. We're at 28, 25 degrees there. And we're at about 237, let's call it. So we have a shallow arc and we have a large arc. So if we go back to our sector, we've got a nice big round and a nice short round. So our orange is very close actually to what we would see on our map there. Very close indeed. So that's good enough for quick reference. You definitely want to bring in the data for that summer sun, which is down here. I'm just going to remove more of these drawings. So what we've got is its rise and its fall. So we've got that. And then our winter sun is actually quite a bit less. So we're going to click on the winter sun and really drop it down to that, that area. And then the way to tell how high it rises is down here. You can also do it here using this marker, but this is easier. So in the summer, this comes up to 70 degrees. So we've got June solstice. I'll just highlight this. We have, and I'll use yellow. So we have June solstice. That's not a great highlight. Got June solstice, there we go. And we're at 70. And we can see that that line comes up and over and hits 70 on the horizon. And then our December solstice comes up 20, there's 30, there's 20, and we come across and we look at them here and we see, yeah, it's just above the 20 mark line. So I would call that maybe 23, 24. Now we can always go down and we can actually see exactly what the numbers are. And all we have to do is just take a look down here, but it looks pretty good. 22 is about what we're seeing. So for you, winter would be 22. 22 degrees. I'm just going to bring back that degree symbol. 22 at the winter and 70 in the summer. So winter there is 22 and then summer is 70. Awesome. And then we already have the colors there. So that's the color of the summer and that's the color of the winter. Okay, so that's all done. And this is actually all complete for you here. So that's all well and good. Just kind of have to move it around a little bit to make sure it looks a little bit better than it does. And the arrows work really well for this. You can just click on a box and then use your cursor arrows to move things around.
Okay. And what was the purpose of the tree and the technical drawing piece there?
Basically to demonstrate that you understand that these are the angles of the sun. So if this is a north side and this is a south side, you understand that these are the angles of the sun during apex. So if we put a tree, if we put this tree, see if it wants to come with me. Oh, grabbed more. And then group, and I'm just gonna get in a little bit tighter here. So if we grab this tree, and let's say we're doing planting, this is going to be the winter sun angle. And let's say we're working with a tree that we want to have as much solar exposure throughout the year. What we'll do is we'll place it in terms of its plant out in such a way that we actually get full solar exposure year round. So this will then become our planting distances between our layout. The opposite can be true is if we're working with something and we want to be able to have acute angles or we want to shade things potentially. So say we're working with a different type of tree. And I wonder if I can distort this to make my point quickly. Nice. So say we're working with a different type of tree and we're doing it opposite now. And we've got two trees together and we want to have that winter sun angle hit this tree. Even in the winter sun angle, this tree is totally shaded. So this tree could be shaded for, depending on where you are in the world, 5-6 months of the year. So this angle, when you start using it in scale relativity or relative scale, pardon me, it gives you a sense of what will shade and what won't shade. And especially if we're working with buildings or we're trying to think, well, if we put this tree here, is it going to shade this building or do we want it to shade the building? This angle can give us placement of what we're looking at. And that's one of the reasons why this compass was given as a PNG, so we can move this around and we can actually use it to work in a cross section that way. Does that make sense?
I think so.
So basically, if I'm making a big plant out, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste this slide to make my point, and then I'm going to go back to fit, and I am going to remove everything else because it's just in the way of my description here. And this. Okay, so let's say we're going to do a plant out and we're trying to figure out how do we plant in such a way so that way we get full solar and winter exposure. Well, if we just take our trees and just line them up generally what we think is going to be akin to our scale, let's say that this is our scale here. So we've got this. We've got our scale here. And we know that this is 10 feet. So we can put our scale right here. And I'll also grab the titling there. Nice. We don't really know if our design criteria is we're trying to work with winter sun. Now, as soon as we bring in this winter sun, now we actually have a relative scale to work on, and we know, okay, yeah, our second row tree needs to go in winter, has to go about there to get full exposure. And so if we measure this, this is 10, 20, 28 feet, thereabouts. And you can make more and more of these. Now we have to do is just create a line. And this is a way of doing it in this program, but in other programs, we would actively create this whole line here.
Mhm.
This one's being a little, there we go. So now we know with this, we can measure this to the right. And then we can place our next row of trees. And now we have a sense of what our sizing is. So our sizing would be 28 feet on center to get full solar access. We also know if we brought in our summer angle, let's put it on this one. If we were going to do, let's say, a summer crop, we now know that we can't go, let's just pull this over. We can't go more than 8 to 9 feet behind to the north of this tree. So if we then did a plant out of, let's say, some greenery, let's get a nice little green block there, give it the old green treatment. We now know where we would put that planting. And this would also give us a sense of maybe where our pass through would go, or where our walkway or where our road would go between this, if we were going to do another plant out. Does that clarify it a bit better?
Yeah, it does. And this is the simplest of sites because it's flat and it's really got a lot of open sky.
Yeah.
So it's a good learning site.
Yeah. So, if this was totally open and didn't have anything here, we could again take that scale ruler now that we're looking down on it in scale, and we could bring our scale with us, and I could make it a group so that way I can move it around together. And now that means I can take it with me as a ruler. And now that it's up here, we know that it's about 28 feet. So looking at this, we can go, oh yeah, so we could go every 28 feet. And again, I'm just going to go back to the template and steal some of the symbols. So grab our conifer there, come back to you. This one is you. And so, yeah, so we've got 28 feet. So we know we've got a line here. So I might even make an initial line over top and go, great, that's 29 feet. Nope, that's not how that works. Grab a line, do it again. One more time, this time with feeling. Trying to be problematic, that's okay. There's other ways to do this. So there's our line. And now I can paste in our little tree. And let's say our tree is a little bit bigger, just for the purposes of this. Well, now I can start to populate this line of trees, because I know from our previous solar aspect that this is the lining that we're working with here. And then I can go in, grab my ruler, get that out of the way. I can even grab that little line in the background. And now we've got our first line of trees. And then we might go back and do a complete another line. And the nice thing with this program is that if we select each one of these, copy these, bring in our ruler, and then paste, we've got our second line of trees, and we could put them right at 28. So that's how we would take that information and put it spatially into a plan view to get a sense of what our and then what we might be doing. And if we added in that little element of the green space, it might look, I'd grab the polyline tool, here, and just kind of put our little green space. And I think it was about 8 feet from there. So about there. So that might be what we use for our green space. It's going to come in as white. I'm going to turn it green, and I'm going to send it back 1. So that way, it's going to do each one. That's fun. Yeah, so now we've got our green space and we've got our trees, and everything is oriented in such a way that it's to scale. Now, the thing to remember is that, all maps, including architectural drawings, having worked on many construction sites, are, the best case scenario. And when you get on site, sometimes things change. So everything gets ground truth when we get on site. But for the purposes of this course, this gives us a pretty accurate representation of where things would go.
Okay, wow. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries, Linda. And if you ever want to keep any of these slides just for reference, what I do is I just copy them. So click on the slide, Command C or right click copy, roll all the way down to my appendix. And then at the appendix, I just Command V. So I've got it as reference there. So I can always go back to it if it was an interesting idea, but I don't want it in the portfolio that you're presenting to your classmates and your grader. It's just a nice way to keep different elements that you're like, oh, I want that, but I don't need that in front of me right now.
And so that's at the end of the tail end of the slides.
That's right. Yep. Right at the appendix.
Okay.
Well, Linda, this has been great. I hope it's been helpful. I do have to go. I've got another client coming up, but
Okay.
if you need any more time or experience, just let me know and I'll post this video and send it to you.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
You're most
All right.
welcome. Take care.
Bye.